Hello, everyone. This is Kyle Galaz with Poor2Pro Car Sales Training Podcast. Become a sales titan. We are in season 9. This is episode 10, the final episode of the season. I hope you guys have enjoyed season 9. The last episode was checks in the mail. Got a lot of cool responses from you guys and girls out there, and got to do some one-on-ones in season 9, which is always awesome. I love meeting people that are like-minded. They want to be the best that they can be. They want to take their career to the next level, and they don't want to be stagnant. They don't want to repeat being amateur year after year. And these are the people that are booking one-on-ones, asking questions, and getting, in the mix, getting their hands dirty. We got to try to get our hands dirty, and if you fail, at least you're trying. And remember, those failures and those ups and downs are going to come and go, but the trajectory of your career is always escalating. You may have peaks and valleys, but they're always continuing to go up as long as you're training. Whether you're just listening to the podcast or booking one-on-ones, it doesn't matter as long as you're training, because training is what takes you to that next level. We've talked about it in over 100 episodes now. It's so awesome that we are 5.5 years almost of the podcast. It's so cool that every one of you have come along with me for this ride, and I get to help more and more people. Some dealerships use it as their exclusive training for new hires. They hire them, go through the process, and say, sit down and listen to Poor2Pro. So really cool hearing that kind of stuff. And we're going to round out season 9 right now with how to deal with toxic coworkers. So it's going to be called Toxic Coworkers. And we've all dealt with that, and we're dealing with it now, and we're always going to deal with it. And how do you deal with, your peers, other salespeople that are toxic? How do you deal with finance managers? You're just trying to get a deal approved, and the finance manager's toxic. And what about sales managers or GMs or GSMs? Man, it's tough when you're trying to stay positive and your bosses are the toxic ones, or your support staff, detail, accounting, administration. I mean, toxic people can bring down dealerships, and you may be at one of those dealerships now that it's in that spiral like a toilet flush, and it's about to go down the drain because there's too much toxic people. Positivity kills toxic. So you being positive, that's the one thing you can control is yourself. So remember, after this episode, when you get back to work, you can control you. You can't control other people. So stop trying. Stop trying to convince them that this is a good dealership. Stop trying to convince them that they're doing good. Nope, you have to deal and worry about you. Now, if you're a manager and you have to work a team and help a team, obviously that's a little bit different. But in the end, we are in a pack of, salespeople. We're in a wolf pack, but we still have to eat our own food, get our own sales. So in the end, those toxic people, remember, misery loves company. Those toxic people will bring you down instead of you being able to bring them up. People that want to go up will find the people that want to help them and find the positive. So let's talk about toxic peers, toxic salespeople that you work with. What can you do as a salesperson when you work 60, 70 hours a week with these people? How in the heck do you deal with someone that's toxic? I've dealt with it for 24 years now in the car business. How did I deal with it? Think about it. What things have you done in the past? What things do you think could help? One of the things that helped me is I ignored them. It's so easy to get caught up in the daily drama, the dealership screwing us. They're not advertising enough. I'm not making enough money. It's so easy to get involved with those conversations because it's comfortable. It's easy to bash on other things that may be affecting your sales. But my biggest take from when I was in sales was I just ignored these people and I stayed as far away from them as possible. Now, yes, do we have to interact with them? Yes. Do we have to split deals with them sometimes? Yes. Do we have to take turns from them? Yes. But your overall day, if you're working 10 hours today or tomorrow or the next day, how many hours are you spending with these toxic salespeople, nonchalantly, hanging out, waiting for an up? How often are you talking with them? Because guess what? Toxic people want more toxic people around them. And it's so easy for us to fall into that trap. So step one with peers is ignore them, stay away from them, and keep it business only with those people. If they start talking smack and you happen to be around, walk away. Go find an up. You can't deal with toxic peers if you're with a customer, right? The salesperson is not going to be right next to you while you're with your customer talking smack about the dealership. That's your way out. Without being rude to that salesperson, without saying, hey, get away, you're toxic, I don't want to deal with you. No, simply get in front of a customer. What happens there? First, you're ignoring them. Second, you're selling a car. Keep that distance from that toxic salesperson. Now, if the toxic salesperson is one of those chronic followers, they love to follow you around. They sit in your office. They sit at your desk. They're outside with you. Then you may have to get a manager involved, but be specific on who you get involved with this. You don't want to just go to the first manager, because that first manager may throw you under the bus with that salesperson and make it actually worse. So be strategic on who you get involved, whether it's your GM, GSM, sales manager. Get someone involved that knows how to deal with these scenarios and get their help, because you can't always do everything on your own. You can't fire that person. You can't fire the toxic guy. You can't do something that will get you an HR case with that salesperson. So what can you do is, if ignoring them and staying away and staying busy with customers isn't working and they're chronic followers, which we all have had, then you need to get someone involved. Don't be afraid to get management involved. You have a team there for a reason. And if you have to escalate it to the highest person that works there, you can tell them, this is the stuff this person is saying. It's bringing down the sales team, not just me, but the sales team. They're constantly talking smack about the dealership, XYZ. Here's the information. I don't want to say anything because I'm obviously not that person's boss, but I need to let someone know so it's documented. When you say those kind of things like, hey, I need to let someone know it so it's documented, a lot of times they have to take action before it goes to HR. So a lot of times the backpack of pressure goes onto that person. Because me as a sales manager, if someone comes to me with a scenario that needs to get handled, and they're smart enough to say, hey, I want this documented, so that way if something comes up, it's on record. Then they're going to go and make sure that doesn't have to be documented, because no one wants to deal with HR and all that stuff. So dealing with peers, salespeople, people that you're eye to eye with on the sales floor, ignore them and get someone involved. Now, there is another way to deal with them if you want to take the long road, because the long road, you may see potential in this person. You may feel like, hey, this person's just kind of in the dumps for right now. And that's bring them along. Bring them along on your journey of success. Now, this is the more, honorable way to do it, because you can bring someone along and follow your success if you have that natural leadership ability. It's a good test for you to see could I cut it as a sales manager or a GSM? Can I take this guy or girl out of the dumps, get him out of the toxic mindset, and get him on the path to success? Now, it's not your job. Obviously, you're a salesperson and you're supposed to be selling your cars and dealing with your customers. But if you have someone that you believe in and you're like, man, I see so much potential and I like this person on my team, on my shift, let me see if I can pull him or her out of it, then yes, you can point them to the podcast. You can point them to books. You can speak positive with these people, and you can say, hey, let's get out of the dumps. Let's talk positive, man. Let's get a customer. Let's try to sell a car today. And a lot of times just a little verbiage can snap them out of it, but it snaps them out of it temporarily, because once they get into their old groove of, I can't sell a car, dealership's not advertising enough, then they can fall right back in it. But when they fall right back in it, you can say, hey, let's stay positive. I need you to hold me accountable to be positive, and I'm going to hold you accountable. And you start this buddy system, and you can sometimes pull people out of it. The reason why that is something important that I want to bring up is because I've met in my career salespeople that I adored. I loved working with them. We had so much in common, And when they started going down that whirlwind of being in the dumps and toxic, I did ignore them, and I said, "Man, you got to figure it out." And then they ended up quitting or moving along, which I obviously knew was probably going to happen. But now after that, I kind of missed them. They replaced them with people that I was like, "Oh my gosh, I wish this guy didn't work here." So they replaced the person that I could have possibly pulled along with someone that I don't want to deal with at all, and I kind of lost that dealership buddy. So if you have a person that you see that has, maybe some potential to be a good coworker, someone that you kind of want to bring along, you might have to take the long journey to help them. It may be, more time and effort on your part, but man, that's what leaders are made of. That's when you can say, shoot, I brought this guy to the dumps. Now he's selling a bunch of cars. We have a great working relationship. You have that leadership mentality, that leadership quality and skill that you would probably make a great sales manager. So remember that it's not just about that person. It's all about you and your character. But if you have another salesperson that is that toxic level that you don't want to deal with, ignore them. Stay away from them. Go get some help. Or if you think there's some value there and a good friend there, because we all have those dealership friends that we end up hanging out with outside of work. We become friends even if you part ways. They're lifetime friends. Those are the kind of people that you might want to help out and use your mental strength to help them build their mental strength. Okay. Now, if you have toxic salespeople and toxic coworkers that it's like, I'm over it, I want to quit, then you need to really think about, your internals, kind of reflect of why you wanted to work at that dealership, some of the positive things that you liked about the dealership, and is the only reason why I want to leave this place and get the heck out of here this one person. So if you can isolate what the real problem is and find out, okay, it is that person, then you can kind of correct and figure a game plan to deal with that toxic person. Now, here was my favorite thing to do with the toxic people is I'd whoop their butt every month in car sales. If you want to put them in check, these toxic people that talk smack and say, oh, you're not that great or whatever, smash them on the sales floor. That was my absolute favorite. Right? They're talking smack, but somehow they're still selling cars because obviously they need to make a paycheck. So you don't want that guy to beat you. So I use the toxic person as fuel. I used him as fuel to destroy. And those are the kind of the things that I did, the talking without talking. I sold a ton of cars, and I made sure that not that I bragged about it with them, but I'm like, hey, how'd you do this month? Like, oh, I did 10. Well, how did you do? Oh, I sold 22, right? You're not bragging. You're asking them how they're doing, but you're just letting that toxic person know that they're wrong, that they're being toxic. They're taking themselves down. So if you want to deal with the toxic person in the best way without saying one word, smash them in car sales, triple their sales, double their sales, smash them each and every month, and know that nothing's going to hold you down. It goes back to that sales titan, that mentality of watch me go, watch me tear it up every month. So there's a few tips and tricks to deal with that toxic salesperson. Obviously, you could talk with them. Obviously, there's different ways to do it, but those kind of 4 tips, something that I used, and ignoring and just smashing them on the car lot, get in front of a customer was probably your best and my best way to go. Now, dealing with the toxic manager is different because you have to deal with these sales managers to work a deal. So how do you deal with a toxic person that you want to ignore, but basically is holding your check hostage? Ouch. This is a tough one. This is a tough one. And what I do with these sales managers, because I've had them, is I came to the desk prepared. I had all my ducks in a row. I had all my lines filled out. I had all my T's crossed and my I's dotted. So when I went to the desk, I was there for the least amount of time possible. And I had a good understanding of what it's going to take to make my car deal. So I could go up there and say, hey, customer's putting $5,000 down, wants to have his payment between $600 and $700, has rapport with this particular credit union. They've used our lending before. I just want to get to this payment range so I can make a car deal. Do you need anything else from me? And you just keep it more business-like, because the more you feed into their personal life and they're toxic, and you sit there and listen, then they have an ear to talk to. Then they feel like they have an audience, these sales managers, and they'll hold you up. They'll slow play your deal, which I know they'll slow play your deal because you're not really prepared, so you have to go back and come back with something else, and they want to continue their story. So try to keep it business-like. Now, if you have a toxic manager that is always, there's always something at the desk when you go to work there, that you can never just work a clean deal. There's always something on his end that he feels like you forgot, you feel like he should do that. That's tough. It really is tough. So what you need to start doing is training that manager that you're not up there for small talk. And sometimes if you come in gung-ho and go straight from your normal casual talks with this manager to all of a sudden business, then they think something's wrong, and then it gets weird. So what you can do is just start slowly conditioning that you're more business up there, and you can come in, with, hey, what do you suggest for a bank? He wants to be at 600 to 700. He's thinking about putting 5,000 down. Instead of just barking out orders to the boss, you can start slowly, getting to that business level to where he knows that when you come into the office now to work a deal, it's go time. He doesn't want, you've conditioned him to know that when you walk in with a file, it's go time. And that's something that I had to deal with too. I had a sales manager back at the Ford store, and I won't name names, but one time I turned my stopwatch on my phone, and I showed another salesperson, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to go up there. I'm going to hit start on my phone, and I'm just going to try to get a pencil and an approval. And I'm going to see how long it takes this guy to get me a structure and an approval. So I hit start. We laugh about it. We guesstimate maybe 10, 15 minutes. I go up there. He gives me a structure. I go back to my office. I say, hey, these are the numbers. Boom, boom, boom. He's working on getting you approved. I'll come back with some payments. Okay, sounds good, Kyle. That normally took me as a salesperson 5 minutes or less. You go there, you talk about it, you close on the tax and all that stuff. You say, all right, he's working on the approval. I went to there. These people had good credit with money down and no negativity. I literally remember this deal. It took him 45 minutes between telling stories, going slow, getting distracted, not being focused, basically being the worst possible sales manager a guy like me who's professional and trying to get this car deal could have. But guess what? He was my manager. I had to work deals with him, and I'm timing him, and I finally got to 45 minutes. It was finally approved and ready for me to go in there and check it off and do all my insurance and stuff like that and bring it back. And to this day, this was back in 2010 maybe. We still talk about it. 16 years later, me and this other salesperson still talk about the 45-minute car deal. Now, that might resonate with you. You might have a sales manager that's like that. It's like, what takes so long to pencil and structure a deal, get me a printout, and get it approved? These are like 5 to 10-minute things. I mean, unless you have a bad credit scenario, but even then, the bank gives you an approval pretty quick or a decline pretty quick. It's not a 45-minute ordeal to wait for an approval or a decline. It may be a counteroffer, but guess what? If you get a counteroffer, you can always call immediately. Why don't they pick up the phone? So this may resonate with you. I don't want to go too much into that story because, I don't want my story to be 45 minutes. You know what I mean? So, But toxic sales managers exist, and they hold you hostage. So start keeping it short and sweet in that sales tower. And next season, I'm actually doing season 10 is going to be for sales managers. And you might want to listen in because one of them is talking about salespeople don't want another friend. And they certainly don't want a friend as the sales manager as a friend. So when they go up there to work deals, get the deal done for these salespeople. Get them on the road with their customer. They don't want to wait around for 30 or 40 minutes hearing stories. So toxic sales managers don't always come in the form of negative. They come in the form of time wasters. They come in the form of distractors. They come in the form of what in the heck, how did you get this job? So how I dealt with that manager after that was I came in hot. Here's what they want to do. Even if I had to say, hey, they're kind of in a hurry. Can we get this submitted to this bank or whoever you think might give us this particular rate? I wasn't trying to structure the deal for the manager. I didn't want to step on his toes, but I was trying to get him jump-started like a kickstart on a dirt bike so I could deal with that. Now, was there a time I went to the GM about this sales manager? Absolutely. Absolutely. If you have credibility at your dealership and you're a voice that wants to be heard, then when you go to the uppers about an issue, they listen and they make adjustments. So me and a couple of salesperson people made some comments about the sales manager taking 45 minutes to work a car deal with good credit, with no trade-in, with some money down. Like that should be a 10-minute max deal to get it, towards finance. And he made some corrections. So if you use the correct sources and you get with the right managers, no, we're not tattling on this manager. No, we're not tattling on the other salesperson. What we're doing is trying to run the business like a business should be, like a dealership should be, and that's efficient and positive, because the owner of the dealership, I promise you, doesn't want time wasted. Time is money. Doesn't want people talking smack about his dealership. So you just have to make sure you're a credible voice, or if you have to relay the message to someone that's a credible voice at your dealership so they can relay the message, make sure you do that. So dealing with toxic sales managers, yes, you could always say, hey, can we keep it on track with the deal? May not offend that sales manager. You have to obviously know your sales manager, but I would either say something to that sales manager, hey, when I work deals, I want to get it done quick, because the only way I'm going to sell 25 cars a month is if I get in and out of this office. He may respect that and be like, you know what, shoot, I want you to sell 25 cars. When you come in, it's business. But you have to be business on your side. You can't be a goofball in there and talk about the football games and this and that, because you're going to condition that sales manager that it's okay to goof around when you come into that business office to work your deal. That makes sense? All right, moving on. Now, toxic GMs and GSMs, it's tougher. I'm not going to go too much into detail because it's not easy. It's not very easy to go to the owner, and tattle on or tell on the GSM. I hope you work at a store where your GM or GSM is professional. I mean, hopefully they got there in that way, but maybe you can take some of the tips from toxic salespeople and toxic sales managers and try to apply that with a GSM or GM. I worked for a GM way back in Lodi, California, that was stealing from the dealership. His sales managers were doing drugs in some of the trade-in cars, smoking weed. One was doing meth. He's got sores all over his face. Like, these are the guys that I got introduced to in the car business, and I didn't know the signs of drugs, and I didn't know the signs of theft and on all that until obviously later I looked back. I'm like, wow, holy moly, I was working with some crazy dudes. Like, what do I do in that scenario? I've worked there for only 1 year. I've 1 year in the car business. I'm 20 years old. How do I go to the owner, and tell him this stuff? Some of the stuff, I just ate it, and I just went to work to sell cars. So there will be some scenarios where, like, you feel like your voice is too small and you just got to suck it up and start selling cars and just do the best you can until you can find a non-toxic dealership, or maybe that dealership will get rid of that GM. Remember, people like this don't last a long time in those management roles, especially when they're sleazy and cheesy and they're stealing and they're doing drugs in the trade-ins. They usually don't last, so you have to sometimes outlast them. I couldn't do that at that first Ford store. I just had to leave because I wasn't making the money they promised and said that these guys make, when the top guys are making like 40 grand a year. I'm like, that's not what you guys told me. You guys told me you're making 80 to 100. And the top guys weren't, so I bounced out of there. But the second Ford store, the GM wasn't like that. They were very professional. The owner was amazing. I just had to deal with some of the toxic salespeople and the toxic sales managers, but I found my way through it. And the best way to do it is go there to sell cars, go there to conduct business, and try to ignore the negativity and the toxic. Okay. Now, I'd mentioned support staff and finance and things like that, but really it can apply to all of them. When you go in to deal with these people that are toxic in detail, keep it short and sweet. Hey, just sold this vehicle, customer's waiting. Here's the keys. Here's the detail slip. Thank you. All right. And sometimes those toxic people that always wanted to, bash the dealership or like, oh, another car to wash, they'll start respecting you because you're there for business. And if these support staffs like administration and the girls doing the back office stuff are negative, man, all I did was ignore them and just did my job to the best of my ability. And if they started doing stuff that hindered me from doing my job, then I would bring it up. If it was small stuff, I didn't want to tattle on people because I wanted my voice to be, powerful and and accurate. So, the person that tattles all the time, when they finally have the big one, they may not be believable. So I hope some of these tips help dealing with toxic coworkers. I mean, they can literally make your job so terrible, but that is where that professional sales tightening needs to come out. And you gotta keep laser focus on why you were at the dealership. I'm here to sell cars. I'm here to make money. I'm here to have a ton of fun. And if your little birds are chirping on the side here, negativity, I just need to ignore them, correct them, help them, or I need to make mention of it to somebody at the dealership level. Now, if you're dealing with a unique scenario, message me. I'm in my 24th year in the car business. I think I've seen and dealt with most scenarios, but it's hard to come up with every scenario for an episode. So if you've made it this far and you're like, man, but Kyle, you didn't cover this, message me. Find me on Instagram or Facebook. It's the easiest place to find me. Poor2Pro Car Sales Training on Instagram, and then just type in Kyle Galaz on Facebook, KYLEGALAZ. I try to get to every message. I don't think I've missed a message. I may have been delayed because it goes to my spam or my junk or whatever. I got to review it because I get messages from a lot of telemarketer stuff, spam stuff. So if I miss it, I will get to it. But please message me, and I'd love to hear from you. I'm excited about doing season 10 for sales managers. And remember, a lot of you salespeople out there will be sales managers in the future. So you can start getting an idea of, oh, shoot, I better start thinking about that now. Because the people that get promoted at dealerships, from my experience and what's happened to me, are the people that take on the role of the next position up without even having to be asked. So I started training salespeople while I was on the floor on walk-arounds, product knowledge. These are things a sales manager should do, but I took it upon myself to do it. Dusting up the cars in the showroom. No one asked me to do it. I just said, shoot, if I'm going to sell these cars, I'd like them to be, dusted. I started helping doing things that I felt like a sales manager does. And then the very next opening for the sales manager, it was no question. They already had my name in the system as sales manager before I even got the promotion. So they already knew what they were doing because of the stuff I was already doing. So season 10 hopefully helps you out a lot to do sales manager stuff ahead of time and become that next level. And then season 11, I'm going to be doing finance training. So 2 seasons will be a little bit different, but you know what? It's time to have some fun and mix it up. We've done over 100 episodes for car salespeople. We're going to do 10 episodes for sales managers, 10 episodes for finance, and then we'll see where the podcast goes. Appreciate you guys making it this far. I love all of you. Please friend me, find me, message me. It's amazing to hear from all of you. I love hearing from you guys and girls. I love the follows. I love the messages. It's so awesome hearing the podcast help so many people around the world. It warms my heart. I do this out of just, I don't know what you call it. If I'm obsessed with the car business, or I just love helping people, or I'm a natural leader, whatever it is, I love the podcast. I love doing it for you guys. And I appreciate every one of you for listening and supporting the podcast. Thank you. Kyle Galaz out.